Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are back for another episode of Highs and Lows. Now, this one's special, not only because Anton Ferdinand is with me again today, but we've got someone who, for me, he was one of the first wonder kids, shall I say, of football growing up. You know, I saw you come up in Crystal Palace. You had the big move to Spurs. And you know what? You've still been playing football, but you've gone through highs and lows. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. John Bostock. How you doing, bro?
Thank you, bro. No, some intro that, man. I'm honoured to be here, and I'm excited to share a bit of my journey.
Thank you very much, because this is actually the second time I've interviewed you. Do you know what I mean? Like, and we've connected since. I think lockdown was the first time we did something over Zoom. And bro, like, I've always said, you know what? I want a bigger platform to tell your story. And when the opportunity came about, you know, reached out again, and you were just as cool. And obviously I've got my ride or die over here, when I was just like, yo, you got to come with me and interview John. And he was just like, I'm there, I'm down. So yeah, we've made it happen. You've come all the way from where have you come from? Nottingham, just to be with us today. Come on, man, you know? So, you know what? I want to start off with your career, because I spoke to Max, who's Anton and Rio's cousin. And he said, you know, when it comes to Johnny Bostock, yeah, he was up there when you're talking about the talent, like Ravel Morrison, Anton Ferdinand. You guys were people that were seen as the young starlets at a young age, and you're up there, bro.
You can't even put me in that conversation.
Really?
No.
Why not?
Because you can't. Can't put me in that conversation. I wasn't a wonder kid. This guy was a wonder kid.
He definitely was.
When you talk about people speaking about you specifically, like us, like Kieran Richardson, in the south of London, he was spoken about in my age group as the best. This guy was spoken about being the best nationally.
Wow. That's incredible.
So I can't even be in that conversation.
I know you're mad humble as well, you know what I mean? Married man, family man, but we need you to go back and start from the beginning. So when did you sign for Palace?
So I signed for. So I started my career, my passion for football. I signed for a club in Dulwich called Pello FC. I think I was 5 at the time, and then there was a trial in Sutton, South London. My dad was a tennis coach in Sutton, and he heard all these kids making noise around the back of the tennis club, and he found out they were holding trials for Crystal Palace. Now, bear in mind, I've been a season ticket holder at Palace since the age of 5, so I was about 6, 7 at the time. And my dad said, "Look, I've got my son's pretty good. Can he come and trial?" And he said, "Yeah, bring in these dates." My dad was like, "Brilliant, I'll come." So my dad was walking away, and the guy said, "Oh, sorry, I forgot to ask, how old is your son? Because he has to be 8 or 9. The guy said, "No." My dad said, "No, he's 6." He said, "Nah, he's too young, he can't come." My dad begged him, said, "Please, can you show us talent?" So he finally convinced the guy to let me come. Came the next week, out of 200 kids, 2 of us got signed. So I was 7 at the time when I signed for Palace. So all I've known is being in the football industry, to be fair. And yeah, that's where the journey started.
Now, when would you say that you knew you were special? Because you started training with the first team pretty early, right?
Yeah, I started training with the first team under Peter Taylor at 14.
14?
14, yeah, training with the first team.
What was that like? Because obviously now we both know what a first team environment is like.
Yeah, true.
You know, it's very volatile. But as a 14-year-old guy in there, what was it like? Did people mind their mouth in there? Were they like, "Oh, he's 14, so like we need to like be careful"?
Nah.
What was it like?
Nah, they weren't careful. The players like Clinton Morrison, they were like,
I was going to say Clinton. I was going to bring him up.
Legends. They kept saying like, clamp him. They kept telling him, take 2 minute touches, because I always used to roll the ball under my feet, you know, like, I used to watch like Ronaldinho's, like, these are kind of people I used to, probably YouTube, I had like cassettes and like videos of watching them, so I didn't care, I just try it. I'm a kid of the shop, learnt my craft on the streets, and I brought it to the Palace first team. So when I went in there, I think the mindset's everything. I wanted to be the best player in the world. And I once I realised the record for the youngest player ever to play for Palace, I wanted to break it. And I told Palace I wanted to break it. I said, I want to break that record. And I said, okay, well, if you do well, you know, we can. I said, all right, fine. So I always played above my age, and I excelled. And so, I mean, I made my debut for the first team before I played a reserve match. So I was always pushed. And so that's the thing, when you have talent and it's matched with the right platform and exposure and opportunity.
And work ethic.
Yeah, for sure. I had a coach, Micky Hazard. He's a Tottenham legend. He was under 16 coach at Palace, one of the best coaches I've ever had. He said to me, John, you're the most talented player I've worked with, but in order for you to show your talent, you have to work the hardest. And that stuck with me ever since. You know, talent will get you to the door, but the hard work will get you through it. So,
would you say you weren't working hard? Is that what Micky was saying indirectly?
I think when you have a level of talent and your talent maybe exceeds those around you, there's a tendency to want to cruise. Because you can get by, and the human nature is to find the path of least resistance. But you know what? This coach, we used to do 5 against 5s, and he used to put me against 4 players, 1 against 4. He had that much belief in me. He's like, John, okay, go 1 against 5. And I would find a way to score or find a way to get a shot off, and then I have to defend against 4 or 5 players.
It's mad.
So
insane.
I call people like this destiny helpers, because there's certain specific people that come into your journey at the right time and they believe in you. And I needed him. He's the type of manager. I used to get the ball on the halfway line, turn and play forward. He's like, stop the session. So what did I do wrong? He said, look at the keeper, he's off his line. I was like, who does that as a coach? Do you know what I mean? So he used to really get my mind thinking different. So people like that, you know, they've been key on my journey.
That's insane.
Wow.
That is insane.
5v1.
Yeah, honestly, 5v1.
That's a rondo.
Yeah, literally. So bro, you can imagine me going into a game. I'm feeling like
you feel
invincible.
You feel invincible. But again, like, you need that as a footballer. But in life, that invincible feeling ain't the one, man. And how did that play a part in you as a person? So like, I'm not going to say use the word arrogance, because you need some type of arrogance as a footballer. Did that come out into you as a person?
So I'm from a very grounded home, working class family, and they wouldn't let me, walk around arrogant. But when you know you're good, you have to be very careful not to go beyond confidence to arrogance. And yeah, man, I could definitely say as a young player, like, I was proud, because for me, football was my identity. It was. It's not now, but it was who I was. So if I'm playing good, I'm the man. On the flip side, if I'm not playing good, then like, who am I? If I'm not the wonder kid, then what am I? So, it goes both ways. But yeah, I realized that arrogance it can be a trait that can help you in football, but it can actually be a disadvantage in real life. Yeah.
How quick did you realise that?
Well, I think when I moved from Palace to Spurs, even now I look back at some of my articles I did at the time, I'm thinking, how could you say that? Why, just because you have this confidence, and it's just like, I'm a firm believer that out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So whatever you believe, sooner or later it will start to come out.
Of course.
And so I was that confident. But Palace and Tottenham, they're two different clubs. So obviously I went from competing and playing alongside some, veteran pros. So now there's Luka Modric, Gareth Bale, Tom Hudson, Jermaine Genius, Wilson Palacios, Van der Vaart, Nico Kranjčar. Younger players who are gonna bust through, like Jake Livermore, Ryan Mason. So I'm there, same confidence, but there's no opportunity. So that's when the battle for confidence started to come. And then you start to realize, okay, let's humble myself. Let's get to work.
So we're gonna get to that in a bit, but that was a good little snippet to show the quality that you've played with. So we're going back. You're training with the first team at the age of 14. What age group are you actually playing on a weekly basis? Because you're 14.
Under 18s.
Oh, under 18s.
Under 18s.
Are you finding it easy?
Yeah. So I played under first. I was 13 when I played under 16s. 14 when I played under 18s.
But is your body developed? Like, what's going on?
I was tall. I must have been pushing it around 6 foot. Skinny frame, quite strong legs. Even as clips of my debut, when I made my debut, there's a clip of me and Joey McAnuff. You might not want to be reminded, but I put him on the weights.
Yeah.
I'm talking weights. Maybe because he's thinking, I'm going to go to 50-50. He was at Watford, I was at Palace. I came on for the last 20 minutes and, boy, I showed him what time it was. But maybe I was just adrenaline and just confidence, but I could handle my own. I mean, physically I was there. And mentally I was quite mature, but like you said, Anton, like nothing really prepares you properly for the men's game.
So under 18s, you're just breezing through. Are you in the England setups?
Yeah. So I was playing upper age in England. So I was captain under 17s at 16 and stuff. So I was always being pushed. So I felt like whatever kind of challenge I had, I rose to.
And in that setup, everyone's saying, "Oh, Johnny Bostock, John." Your name's flying around. You know, are the other kids? Are they looking at you like you're that guy? You know, the kid from Palace. Yeah, him.
So I didn't realize this till about a couple of years ago. But one of my good friends, Sam Cox, who's a great guy, professional footballer, coach as well. He was at Spurs as a under 18. He told me, he said, "John, you know, when we found out you was coming, everyone was scared. The whole academy was scared." I was like, "Really?" He said, "No." He said, "Yeah, like the best kid in England's coming. Like we better up our game." And he actually said that because I was there, not just for my performance, but because I was there, everyone they upped their game because they realised that this club's recruiting some of the best talent. Like we have to push. And I felt when I came to the change room, when I first signed up, it was a bit hostile, man. I was like, "Oof, where have I come?"
Yeah.
You know, and when I signed for Spurs, you know, they promised certain things and they didn't keep. But look, that's football. You have to adapt. But yeah, for sure. I think that whole period of my life, it was massive refining process for me.
One more question before I hand it over to Anton. I just want to ask, before we talk about your first team football at Palace, yeah? What was Clinton Morrison like with you? The reason why I say that is because he's on this episode. He called me on Friday night. Yeah. He's coming on the show. He's like, "Yeah, I was with Anton the other day. I'm coming on the show." Like, you know what Clinton's like? What's his character like? Because I used to love to go watch him train at Palace. Because do you remember Beverly, the canteen woman?
Yeah,
so
Bev.
Bev, that is like, that's my auntie right there.
Got you.
So I was like best mates with her son. So she used to come and allow us to watch all of you guys train, and so it was just incredible for us. What was Clint like in that environment?
We had a fight.
No.
Yeah, we had a fight. It wasn't. I was 15. Yeah, it was funny because basically,
You had a fight.
Yeah. It was that. I kept. You know when you play futsal or indoor football, you know when you receive the ball and you roll it, like you always use a salt. I always did that every single touch. He kept saying, "Clamp him," and I think I controlled it. I rolled it and I played it around him and went around him, and he just grabbed me and pulled me down. And so I grabbed him and pulled him down. We started having like a proper, you know, it wasn't a fight, but we had a big altercation to get broken up. After that, he was fine. No, we spoke because I saw him like a big brother. He's the kind of person who, you know, he makes players feel very comfortable, especially the young players coming through. Like, although we had the altercation, I knew at lunch I'll sit down and talk to him.
What did he not like? What was it?
I don't know.
You know, it is like, you see when you're a senior player.
Yeah.
And he wants you to do well because that's Clint's character. He wants you to do well. If he's seeing something that maybe he thinks you ain't going to be able to do on a Saturday in a game,
that's exactly what it was.
He will be on you to say, "Stop doing that," because if you do that in the game on a Saturday, you're going to get clamped. That's why he was telling people probably to clamp him.
Yeah.
So he learns now. So when Saturday comes, it ain't John Bostock's giving the ball away because he's rolled it and then they scored. So he's thinking outside the box of how can I help him, but also as an older player, I know the frustration.
Yeah.
And you know it now.
It's real.
The frustration when you see someone with so much talent doing something that you know in a game situation, they might get away with it a few times, but there'll be a time when they don't get away with it and it's a goal or it's a chance. And that determines whether the player has a career or not, by the way. So I could imagine from knowing Clint myself that would have been his thought process, but it just happened to be in a situation where you got into an altercation. But it was an altercation out of love, not
100%.
Not altercation out of
no.
I'm angry with you or you're rubbish or this and that. It was out of love because he wanted you to do so well.
Oh, for sure. And he's always been like that whenever I've seen him. And I think characters like that are quite rare, especially now as a senior pro. The game's changed. Players, they don't like honesty. They don't like to be challenged. So I'm very grateful that I was able to taste a bit of that generation where it's almost like hard love because it teaches you quickly.
Wow.
Very quickly.
Yeah, 100%. There's no better way to teach someone something than being honest with them. whether they like it or not. That's how I was as a senior.
Era, yeah.
My era as a senior player. And I came to when I was ending my career, I come to the end. It was a transition of you can't speak to players a certain way, but I still had it in me because that's all I knew. And you'd see some players like shy away from it. Like you say, like stop giving the ball away, and you see someone go, "Oh no." Do you know what I mean? And when I was younger, coming into the first team, like if I was cheeky, I got put in the boot room and got slapped up. But that's how it was.
It's true, man.
If I was cheeky, I got put in the boot room and I got a couple of digs. That's how it was. Do you know what I mean? Whereas now, HR's being called. Like that's how it is. That's how it is. But HR's getting called now if you tell a young player the truth.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a fact. That's the way of the world, not just football, the way of the world.
It was a bit too harsh on him there.
Yeah. When like you said, John, tough love makes you learn quicker. I learned quickly off of my parents because sometimes I get a slap rather than being told. But it would fix me quicker. The slap would fix me quicker than the words because I don't want to feel that again.
True. Yeah.
So, John, you make your Palace debut. You said that you came on for the last 20 minutes, putting on guys on the weights and that.
Allow it, Jody.
How does that season finish for you, that particular season? And also, what's the talk? Are they raving after you even more than they were before? Are they trying to keep you from other clubs? What's going on?
There was a lot of interest since the age of like 13, 14. There was a lot of interest.
From?
I mean, all sorts of clubs. It's well reported that had offers from Barcelona, the biggest clubs. But as a family, we wanted to stay in London. I mean, I wanted to stay at Palace. That was my desire to stay at Palace.
Really?
Yeah, I wanted to stay at Palace.
What about now? Looking back now, do you wish you would have went Barcelona?
I mean, footballing wise, it would have made a lot of sense. As a 30-year-old who's a lot more rounded in terms of a person, I've realised my life's a lot more than football. Although I love the game, I'm passionate about it. I'm a firm believer that character is far more important than career. And so if I had a career that was just like that, there's no way I would have the character I have now. You know, this show's called Highs and Lows. I've enjoyed the highs, but man, there's been some serious lows. You know, even to a point where I was thinking, is football even for me anymore? So, of course, bro, like Barcelona is still my number one club in world football. My footballing hero played for them, Ronaldinho, and so it would have been incredible. But I'm a firm believer that, you know, my steps are ordered, you know, and so, yeah, hindsight is an incredible thing. But although it's been painful, the journey at times, I wouldn't have changed it.
I just want to plug your thing right now. You've got a page that you run called Ballers and God. Now, if you guys are wondering why this guy's so wise, it's because he gives great advice. And I want you guys to go on that Instagram page and on Twitter as well, right?
Yeah.
And follow Ballers and God. It's wicked, like proper good stuff. But yeah, so there's interest from Barcelona. There's interest from other clubs. You're saying you didn't want to leave Palace. But why then did you leave Palace to go for Spurs?
Listen, as a 15-year-old young man, it's very rare that you have the final say. Not maybe in some you know, some certain situations, the player will have the final say. But you have to remember, there's family involved, agents involved, people directing you, saying this and that. You know, I was literally told to sign the contract. You know, one club in England said, a big club said, I would take Johnny Bostock. I'll come down to London, put him in the wheelbarrow and take him back up. If that's what it takes to get him to my club.
Who the club, man? You can't just say a big club.
Everton said that. And there's interest from clubs for years. So on my side, it's a lot. But you have to imagine also for my parents, they're not trained in this.
Of course.
Like they have no background of understanding what's the best thing to do for their kid or whatnot. And everyone's in their ear. I mean, there's one game I was playing because agents weren't allowed to really, you know, talk to parents on the side of pitches. And one agent came to my dad and just literally walked to him and gave him a phone. Someone's on the phone. And my dad's like, hello? So, yep, hi mate, I'm just across, I'm on the other side of the pitch. I'm watching your son. Can we have a meeting after the game? So like my dad was under pressure, my family was under pressure. And so, but my desire at the time was to stay at Palace.
Just based off what you're saying, and obviously this is for young aspiring footballers or people who are in the game trying to aspire to get to the levels that you have been at. How important is it that you have people in your corner who understand football, not the game? They need to understand the game, but understand the business side of football. How important is that?
I mean, it's key. Football, it's the world's game, but it's also probably one of the world's biggest businesses as well. And so, as a kid, your intentions are pure. You just want to be the best. You just want to play. You just want to. I mean, you got dreams of playing at the biggest clubs, the biggest stages, and you hope that people around you can help to match those dreams. But at the same time, you need people who understand the game, understand the process. That's key. Because I've been pushed so much, I thought I can get there in a couple of years. I've seen Rooney do it. I saw Theo Walcott do it. I'm next up. Why not me? Like, I've got the talent. Why not me? But there's a process, and decision making is key. So it's really key for any young player listening to this. The people you surround yourself with, have people that have your best intentions at heart, but also people who are experienced. Really key.
So would you say that? Obviously, you said your parents were not experienced and stuff, and the agents are pushing. Were you not on a lot of money at Palace at the time? I'm guessing not, because you're still a schoolboy, right? Or
so I had no salary. The only salary I had was I was getting money a little bit from Nike every single year.
Okay.
And like allowance to go to the Nike shop and stuff. But I was receiving no salary in football. Simon Jordan at Palace, it's well reported, how much he spoke about my case and whatnot. And I am genuinely sorry he felt so, let down by the whole situation. That wasn't anyone's intention, especially it wasn't mine. But we were told that Palace would do anything to keep me. The contract I received didn't show that whatsoever.
What are we saying?
No, I don't want to speak numbers, but I know what other players around the country were on. Not that I was comparing myself. I know what young players at Palace were on, and they tried, but they didn't really try. They really didn't try. I mean, he said that he wanted multiple £1 million for me, but the contract he offered me as a young player, it didn't show that. So when I left to go to Spurs, he's just chasing money. But at the same time, if I felt valued at Palace, I'm telling you, my family, we would have been like, yeah, okay, we see the plan, we see the structure. We would have probably been more convinced. But the club will always have a place in my heart. I'm buzzing to see how well they're doing now. Established Premier League club, and I hold no harsh feelings whatsoever. Happened the way it did.
How did the Spurs move come about?
So Damien Kamoli was a sport director there. He was trying to, sign the best kids from around the country. So he signed Danny Rose from Leeds, signed another player called Dean Parrott from QPR for $2 million. He was a big talent at the time, signed myself. And so, we kind of realised that London would have been the best place for us to stay. So it's not a toss-up, but some of the big clubs in London we had to choose between. And
I know you're dying to ask, innit? Was Arsenal in there? Because I know he wants to ask this question.
So I'll tell you a story about Arsenal. Not many people know this. So at the time, Arsenal were the best academy in the country. It was awful to play against them. They used to batter everyone. So I wanted a little piece of that.
Not my year. Let's just put that
in my year.
Arsenal.
Arsenal. Listen, through the years, they used to batter everyone. I think it's Chelsea now. Chelsea and City are the big boys now. But I was interested in signing for Arsenal, and the agent I had at the time, I told him that. But he was trying to sign Jack Wilshere, the agent. So Jack Wilshere's dad said, look, I know you want to sign my boy, but John, you already represent John. John and Jack, they're the same age, same foot, same kind of talent, play for the same England team. To have the same agent and you to bring him to Arsenal, heard he wants to come to Arsenal, we're not going to sign with you. The agent then said, don't worry, I'll make sure John doesn't come to Arsenal. And this got back to me. This got back to me from a coach I know at Arsenal, someone I know very close to me. He told me that. And this agent was so confident that I was going to stay with him. He said, John, if you ever want to leave me, you can leave. There's a clause in the contract, you can leave. So when this came back, we told him, and he was shocked. He couldn't believe he found out. And so we activated the clause, and he cried.
Loud.
Agent cried tears, literal tears. So that's the story about Arsenal, massive club. I signed for the rival Spurs, but that's a bit of information of how stuff goes on behind the scenes.
Wow. It's crazy in that world, man.
It
It's
is
proper crazy.
But this is why you need to have the right, like John said, you need to have the right people around you to help with these decisions, because like I said, your family, your parents have never been in this situation. They don't understand the footballing business. You might understand business, but football business is different to other sectors, you know? And decision making can impact you. You might think it's the best decision around that time, but that decision needs to be thought about 5 or 6 steps on.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people don't realise or understand that. A decision you make today can affect you in a year's time, 2 years' time. And that's why you say hindsight's a beautiful thing. You have to try and have that forward thinking process before you make a decision, especially in football, because football, as we know, football can be unforgiving.
You moved to Spurs for a total package of £1.5 million. 700 up front, 1.25 in the long term, 200 depending on appearances. It's going everywhere on Sky Sports. Like even I remember seeing this. Like, can you remember what it was like being in that whirlwind?
Yeah, I got death threats, man.
No way.
Yeah, it was a lot. I got death threats from Palace fans. It was a lot. There wasn't Facebook or Insta, or it was forums back then.
Really?
So I used to go and look in the forums, what people saying about me. It was awful. They got death threats.
What did that do to you though? Watch it, like reading it. How did it make you feel?
I mean, there's 2 sides. There's one side that I'm a Palace fan. Like, how can my own people feel this way about me?
Mm-hmm.
The other side was, I want to show you. So, but it's not nice. I mean, you make a decision what you think is the best at the time, as a family, as a young player, and for no one wants a decision to be ridiculed or criticised. And so I learned quickly to try and stay off them forums, boy, because they didn't help at all. But I signed for Spurs. And like they said I'd be training with the first team, playing reserve matches. And so I was training with the first team, went on tour with them to Spain, did well, played the game, got an assist. I'm thinking, wow, this is really happening. Do you know what I mean?
So were you feeling comfortable with the players? And which players are you playing with during this pre-season?
So, Modric, Berbatov. I remember I got assists for Lennon when I played. So he's
Defoe,
these are massive players, man. Obviously Gareth Bale was there, left back at the time. But so then I went after the pre-season tour. I went back, played with the reserves, played 9 games, scored 6 goals. I'm 16 at the time now, and so I'm thinking
16, you know.
Oh my! You know, like as you're talking, you would have thought this guy was 19.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm thinking, right, he's like 18, 19 at this time. Man saying he's 16.
And so the manager gets sacked. Harry Redknapp comes in, start training the first team a little bit more. And then also they start putting me back with the youth team a little bit to train. I was like, oh, what's going on here? So anyway, November comes, Europa League, and I get told I'm in the squad. Thinking, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. Played against Dynamo Zagreb, and I come on, make my debut for Tottenham in Europa League, become the youngest player to play for Spurs. I'm thinking, wow, I nearly score when I come on as well. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. After a couple of weeks, they said, John, you know what? You played first team. We think it's just best for your development. If you just come back back down to the under-18s for a bit, just to play with kids your age, just to work on your game. When they said that, I couldn't believe it. I said, okay. And I learned to humble myself. I said, okay, fine. I'm trying to do it to the best of my ability. But coming back into that environment, I'm the wonder kid, remember? So I felt like I had to show everyone I shouldn't be here. Or I show everyone that I am that good. And when you go into start playing games like that or train like that, you start carrying a weight you're not supposed to carry.
Yeah.
And I remember playing games and it wouldn't really be going for me. You know, it's like when you should be playing simple, I'm trying to Hollywood pass or people are, dissecting my performances and saying this and that. And I see scouts coming and Harry Redknapp comes down to watch and for 20 minutes you're thinking, I got to. And when you start putting pressure on yourself like that, it's never healthy. And I remember coming off the pitch sometimes thinking, why am I not playing well? Like, why is it not going well? I remember coming off the pitch crying sometimes thinking, oh my gosh, I should be bossing this level. And I came to realize, I played under 18 since I was 14. To go back now as a 16, 17-year-old, when I felt like I already achieved that, it was a massive mental challenge for me. Then they realized, okay, we'll send you out on loan. That's when the loan process started. So,
But just before you go on to the loan process, what you just said there was a trait of what West Ham would do. I played and trained first team regularly, but then would play on a Saturday with the youth team. So I'd play with the reserves or be on the bench with the reserves, train with the first team most of the week, and then Friday I'd train with the youth team, play for the youth team Saturday. It was to mentally see how you coped with a setback, because there's a setback for you.
Yeah.
You know, obviously your situation is different because you've been playing under 18 since you were how old
14.
14. So you're now going to a place now where you've been there, done it, wore the t-shirt, and you're actually a veteran in that age group.
Yeah.
By the way. And the difference for you is you're a wonder kid. I see what they were trying to do, but your case is different. Do you know what I mean?
I agree, yeah.
Like the wonder kids today don't touch under 18s. They bypass under 18s. They go straight reserves, train with the first team. A man of your ability from them young ages to get the best out of you, and this is my opinion, to get the best out of you, you don't go no lower than the reserves. You train with the first team every day, but you play reserve team matches.
Yeah.
Because you're a generational talent that can only show their worth when playing with players that essentially are meant to be better than you.
Yeah.
Because you've got something to prove. And from hearing your journey from the start, you always played up because you needed to prove yourself against better players, against older players. That trend should have stayed the same. I think if that trend stays the same, we're not sitting here talking about the lows in your career. We're talking about how a generational talent became one of the best in the world, because that's the level that you was at as far as I'm concerned. That's where you're at. Ronaldinho is not your idol. You're being compared, because that's where you was at. No one could, people that know of you from around South London, son, generational talent. It's mental, and I just think I get and understand, because I went through that process of being with the first team and then playing under 18s to a point where at one time I played in a youth cup game, and I was like I even said to Tony Carr, like, what am I doing here? Yeah. Like, it was youth cup, and you know how big youth cup is. But I'd been there, done it, wore the t-shirt, because I played in the youth cup and been on the bench in the youth cup when I was like 16. And I played following year, and then like I'm with the first team, and then they want me to play in the youth cup because they want to get further in the youth cup. I'm off like, what am I doing here? No, not big-headed, not arrogant, but I want to progress. Like, it's not an arrogance, and I'm imagining you the same. It's not an arrogance. It's a case of, this is slowing down my progression because I want to go there. And you feel like it's slowing down the progression, and you can't, in that moment, you can't fathom or can't think they're doing this to see if I'm mentally strong.
You can't see it.
You can't see it.
Can't see it.
It's impossible for you to see it.
And remember, because my career up until now was being pushed, and they put me back, I thought, oh my gosh. Then I'm thinking, have I come to the right club? Am I at the right? Have I made a mistake? And you're playing with kids your own age, and you're not excelling the way you know you can. You're thinking, am I actually the wonder kid? Am I actually good? Wow. You start training, you make a mistake.
That's heavy, man.
Oh no. Then the spiral. I mean, life in general, mentality, confidence is everything. You know, you could get a man who doesn't, he's maybe a 4 out of 10, but with the way he carries himself, he's like a different person. Same in football.
Joel knows about that. Not joking.
I'm here deep into the interview.
Oh my God.
Know?
But honestly, it's like that. And so when confidence gets knocked, and you don't really know how to deal with a setback, it's you try even harder. So I actually looked at my whole life. I mean, I've never touched alcohol, never went clubbing. I think, okay, I got to sleep earlier. Got to look at my clips. Okay, I got to do, and you start
intensifying
analysing
everything.
everything.
Over evaluating.
And listen, when you can see a player go on a pitch and he's free, you can tell he's free. When you see a player you can tell that, and that's what happened to me, and I wanted it that bad.
Too much.
Too much.
You wanted it too much.
I wanted too
so
much.
you end up going to Brentford, Hull City, Sheffield, Swindon, Toronto FC. Like, what's going on? These back and forths. Are you playing in between? Where's your confidence levels at by these times?
So I went to Brentford at 17 on loan. I scored 2 on my debut in League One. I thought, oh man, this is too easy. This is brilliant.
Yeah.
This is brilliant, man. Because they used to call me Zizou in training.
No
Zizou.
way.
I'm thinking, so on my first session, it's like, he's like Zizou. I'm thinking, wow. So I thought, oh, I got another platform where I can show myself. So I made my debut, scored 2, and then playing, doing well. Then the results aren't going that well in the team. So the manager's under pressure. So I'm playing right wing. I'm not a right winger, but he puts me on the right wing. And we need to grind out results. So the manager, Andy Scott, said, John, I'm not going to play you today because I need to put the experienced winger. He's going to track back, do all this stuff. Maybe it's not your biggest strength. I said, okay, fine. Well, 1 game turned into 2 games. And I had a clause in my contract at Spurs saying if I didn't start in 3 games, if I didn't start 1 or 3 games in a row, I can come back and train with Spurs or they can recall me. So that happened because the club was under pressure. So then Spurs called me back because it's better for me to train with Spurs and be in the environment rather than just sitting on the bench as a young teenager. So I came back and Harry Redknapp put in the press, he said, I've sent Defoe out on loan, Rio out on loan, Lampard out on loan. Not one of them have been sent back. Must be his character. Now, I love Harry Redknapp. I've spoken to him many times since then. And maybe he didn't mean to say anything like that. Maybe it was a part of his interview. But that there stuck. And once that word character's put into the press,
yeah, that taints you.
We spoke about it with Kieran Richardson, innit? Like he says that when people thought he was flashy, even though, that wasn't the case, or they said he had bought certain cars when he hadn't, it sticks with you where you go.
That stuck with that is how it is. Like we was known as the Bentley boys at West Ham, because Alan Kirbishley called us. He was our manager at the time. Me, Nigel Coker, Marlon Harewood, like the Bentley boys. I had a Bentley, but I called us the Bentley boys.
Did they have a Bentley?
No, just me. So it was for me.
Bentley boy.
Yeah.
But like that stuck to. Okay, right, Anton's flashy. And it's weird how much I hear, and I still hear today, you're not what I thought you was, I hear it regular, but based off of that comment that was, nearly 20 years ago, by the way.
That's dangerous, So you don't even have a platform like Twitter to come out and say, no, actually, this is what happened in my contract. You've just got to eat it up.
You have to eat it up. And I learned that quickly that I did an interview with a big newspaper, and I thought, okay, because I was trying to rebuild my name. This is after I fast forward a little bit, but I thought I'm just going to go into this interview because there's pictures being taken. I'm going to wear plain clothes, plain white t-shirt, jeans. I had a watch at the time. I think the watch is about £200 watch, but it was a bit shiny. Them shiny ones that look more expensive. I thought, you know what? I'm leaving this at home. Did the interview. In the article, it said John Bostock arrived with his hair gelled and his watch. I thought,
I didn't even bring a watch.
Yeah.
So anyway, things sticks, but by the grace of God, I've been able to turn around, that image. That image. Not that it matters a lot, but that's not who I am. So anyway, I came back on loan from Brentford. Then I went away with England to the Euro Under-19s, scored against Spain in the semis, I think it was, and I got a loan move to Hull.
Who's the manager at Hull?
Hull, Nigel Pearson. And it was a battle between Swansea and Hull where I should sign. Brendan Rodgers was at Swansea, but they didn't really show a lot of desire, so I signed for Hull. First game of the championship season, play against Swansea. Get the ball 45 yards out, put it top corner on my debut. Again, a great start. I'm thinking, wow, this one's going to go well now, finally. Playing. But I only played 10 games that season. Still, they're not starts. So still, I haven't really got a lot of experience. So I went back from Hull City back to Spurs, get another loan move to Sheffield Wednesday under Gary Megson. Cool. The way I like to play football, get the ball down, play. You couldn't have picked a worse match for me. Made my debut, Anton. Didn't touch the ball the whole game. I was number 10 that game. He didn't touch it. Next day, he called me into a meeting. He said, John, clapped me. He said, do you want to applaud you? I said, why, Gav? I didn't touch it. He went, look at your running stats. Look at that. Look at your running stats. You ran more than anyone. I said, but I didn't touch the ball. It doesn't matter here. And so I played for Wednesday. Wow. And honestly, I had a bad time there, man. I really didn't play well there. But only played like 5 games.
That was true.
Played 5 games.
Yeah, that like my running stats.
Yeah,
like,
honestly.
but what did I do with the ball? That like, yeah, I've had that with managers, and it's like I don't want to know about my running stats. Don't know about how far I haven't run. Did I get bent up? Did the striker score against me? No, I could have done my job then.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas you playing further forward, how many assists? How many touches of the ball? Exactly. That's what you want to know about. You don't know about the running.
No, exactly.
You know? He applauded you.
Yeah, he went, just want to say, well, he's Northern Irish, just say, well done, Bozzy. I said, why? He said, pick your running stats, lad. Absolutely fantastic. I was like, oh, okay.
I've got a question, John, yeah? So there's a pattern in your early career. You start well. Mentally you're thinking, yeah, this is going to be it. And it don't happen. Why do you think it didn't happen?
So I did a couple more loans after that. Swindon under the Canio, which was something incredible experience. Then Toronto. And I realized, I sat back, I thought, who even am I as a player? I'd been out on loan several times, and I realized at the age of 21, I'd never played more than 10 games in a season. So although I really want to show everyone, I haven't been given just time. And I was an offensive midfielder at the time. As my career's advanced, I've not played in that position ever since. And my career's, I played some really big clubs, deeper. I didn't learn my qualities as a player till I was 22 years old. My confidence was so low at the age of 21, my contract at Spurs expired. And I remember I was praying, I said, God, I'm done with football. My confidence is that low. I'm ready to stop. If you want me to go into full-time ministry, I'm ready. But I'm done. And
let's clarify for the viewer. What would you say in terms of confidence, percentage-wise?
How was that?
How much do you think to be a top performer does confidence play?
I wish I could say 110%, bro. It's everything.
I say, me personally, football is 60% confidence. The rest is ability and work ethic. But you need, for your work ethic and your ability to shine, you need 60% confidence.
Yeah, you need belief.
At least. So you're saying your confidence is...
My confidence was zero at the time.
And to be a player that, by the way, you was always spoken about to be, you had no confidence to even show people.
So can you imagine that? Even being with you guys here today, you guys have told me, like, from your perspective of what kind of talent I was, generational talent, all this stuff. So imagine feeling like everyone expects you to be that, but at the time, I couldn't. It's like, I can't show it. Who am I? What? And so I got to a point where I said that, I prayed, I said, God, show me, like, I'm done. And I remember, maybe a lot of viewers watching this and maybe don't have religious beliefs or whatnot, that's fine. But I felt God spoke to me, he said, now you're ready. So I've been ready this whole time. What do you mean now I'm ready? He said, now you're ready, but do it for me. So my whole focus of my career up until then was my name, my fame, my glory, and my story. It's all about me. That one encounter, I realized that my whole focus was wrong. It's all about me. When your life is built upon yourself, it's a shallow life. So I said, all right, we'll start again. So I dyed my hair blonde. I went on trial to Belgium. I was driving in my car, sleeping outside of some clubs, because no club would want to touch me. I remember sleeping outside of one club.
At 22 years old?
21, I was 21.
21, clubs don't want to touch you.
No club in England wanted to touch me, bro. I don't know why.
Wow.
I was with my agent, we were driving in Belgium, trained with Ostend. Hasselbank got the job at Antwerp. Went to Antwerp. There was a club called Leuven. We drove there early. He was calling, can we train? Because you said we could come. Fell asleep sleeping outside this training ground. Then I went into they said, okay, you can train. And I just come back from injury, so I wasn't match fit, but obviously could still see my talent. I trained, they put me in this room, this dark room with no light, gave me some I said, can I get some food? They gave me a piece of bread. I was thinking, wow. I was like at Tottenham up there. Now I'm training.
You're in the wilderness.
Wilderness, bro.
Really asking for a piece of food. And
I trained, and the manager, he sat me down after, and he said, why are you here? I said, I'm here because I want to, progress in my career. He said, if I was you, I'd slap myself. Shouldn't be here. How could you, I've seen where you've been, how could you be here? Angry towards me. I was thinking, well, I'm trying to start again. He said, well, we can't sign you. I wish you all the best. That was it.
why?
Bro, that was it. Literally.
What
Never
the-
forget. So I signed for Antwerp and the Hasselbank.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first season I played a full season. I didn't care about agents' opinions. Didn't care about stats. I just played, Anton.
31 games.
31 games, got 19 assists. First season playing more than 20 games a season.
That's stats, boy.
And then so that same club, Leuven, who treated me that way, they came down. New manager, they called me and said, we want to sign you. I was thinking, all right, well, I've got history with this club. I want to, they're a big club. They've got ambitions to go back up. So sign for them. Second division, same division. Score 14 goals, 15 assists, win player of the season. We win promotion by playoffs. The club that rejected me told me that I should slap myself. And we went up. And that's how my career in Europe was really birthed. I enjoyed football again, bro. Because that love and passion for it had been lost because of other people's expectations of me. First time I went abroad and I just played like a kid again.
I just want to interrupt this part to ask you, how important was the support of your wife? Because you didn't mention, but you got with your wife pretty young, isn't it? I would say.
I got married at 18.
Married at 18.
Mm.
Now you're moving around from country to country. You know what I mean? I'm single. I'm still out here. Not out here, but for now. But you've got to, you've got your child, you've got your wife, you've got your what's that like? How was she like throughout this whole process?
So at this time, we weren't parents. We've been married a few years, and she was down. Mm-hmm. She believed in me, and she knew that I was almost like a wounded animal. I needed love, I needed time, and she believed. Honestly, she believed in me more than I believed in myself at times.
Wow.
And I'll come in from training or games, and she would speak positively over me and say, "John, you're an amazing player." She would build me up because I couldn't see what she saw. I knew the talent was there, but you know what it's like. Other people can see stuff in you don't see because of circumstances. She'd tell me you're a great player. She didn't understand that much about football, bro. When I met her, she knew nothing about football. First game she came, she said, "Why did they swap sides at half time?"
Yeah.
So that's how much she knew about football. But she's learned a lot, and she, I can't thank her enough. She sacrificed so much. We spent 6 years abroad. Obviously, we have our son now. And so I couldn't have done it without her.
Been married 12 years and it's still going on strong, right?
Yeah, it'll be 12 in January, so yeah.
That's brilliant. So,
Wait a minute.
go on.
Just that tells me where you was at. 12 years in January. I don't know a footballer who's married in January.
Yeah.
You're playing at that time. Every footballer that's married gets married in the summer.
True.
June is the footballer's month of getting married.
It's your last pre-season.
End of May is the stag do. June is the wedding ceremony. So you're saying January. That tells me where you was at. Just off of a date of getting married. That is crazy.
That's crazy.
Wow,
That's
man.
a good analysis, mate.
Really
It's
good.
mad. It just hit me when you said 12 years in January. Like, wow. But just hearing the way you speak about your wife, not to know nothing about football, but to identify where you was at mentally, but to also identify that she was the one that needed to keep lifting you up. Not many people have that, man. I've got that. I've got that in my wife, 100%. So I understand and know the feeling, but I also understand and know how important it is, not just as a man, but someone in a sport like football, how important your better half needs to be and should be, you know, and
Unsung heroes, man.
oh, it's mental. Like, not like you spent loads of time abroad, away from her family, and she was still able to look at you and go, listen, I need to build this man up because this man is my future. So listen, big up to Mrs. Bostock, man, because
Big up.
you know what I mean, that's like, yeah,
We're
that's
going to
proper.
clip this up for Mrs. Bostock.
No,
You know what I mean?
I had to
Yeah,
be
no,
said,
that's serious
It's
stuff
important.
right there, man. Okay, so Lens, what's going on over there, man?
So we went up with Leuven into the Prem, and had a really good season, but we couldn't keep the club up. And I had interest from different clubs all around. And the one country I didn't want to go to was France.
Why?
The French are talented, man. I was thinking, they call it the League of Talents in France. There's always some sort of talent getting unearthed. I'm thinking, they're stacked over there. And I thought, but the club were on it. And the manager called me, he was only speaking to me in French. I was thinking, I don't understand anything. But somehow I understood it. I was thinking, what? All right, fine. They said, just come and view the club. And I said to my wife, who was in Belgium at the time, I said, baby, they want me to come see Lens in France. She went, if you go there, you're going to sign for them. I said, nah, I'm not. I went to go view the club. I said, baby, you're right. And so, massive club.
Did you fear going from what you've always known and where you've excelled in, being the one? Did you fear going back into a place where you was going to be one of many?
I felt, yeah, a little bit, I guess. But it worked out a completely different way. I signed there under a manager called Alan Casanova. And remember,
What a name.
Yeah, no. Previously, I mean, in England, I played as a 10, but kind of an advanced number 8. But playing abroad, I played as we call it a 6 or number 4 holding, where I can see the whole play. And I actually learned that my biggest strength is not my dribbling, it's my passing range. So I signed for Lens, and I kept telling the manager, I want to come deeper to get it deep. He said, no, you go high, we find you. I said, let me show this guy. So my first game in the league, I dropped, got off the fullback, like she stood on his toes, which I wouldn't advise midfielders to normally do, but I wanted to show him. Got it. I played a dissecting pass through three defenders, and we got an assist. He looked at me and went, okay, you choose.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
thought, oh my gosh.
Listen to the terminology. I played a dissected pass. Listen to the terminology. That tells you everything. The thought process of you as a footballer tells you everything. Okay, but also now I understand you got your confidence back because you're now in a process where you're going, okay, now I'm going to show you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You ain't had that for a while.
For
But
a long time.
now I'm going to show you, okay, you want me to play higher, but I want to come deeper.
Yeah.
Let me show you. And I don't care who you are, to be a top player, you have to have that little bit of arrogance and selfishness to go, do you know what? Okay, you might be telling me something, but I'm going to show you. I advise players to do it in training and not in games, but you need to have that thing that where you go, no, actually, I'll give you an example. The manager thinks you're a better right back, but you think you're a better centre back. In training, play centre back. Don't play right back in them 7v7s. Play centre back and show him in training.
But that can sometimes work both ways, isn't it? Because when we speak to Kieran, he was told by Rio and by some of the coaches at United that he should play left back.
If he plays left back, they don't sign Evra.
Yeah.
By the way.
Really?
Yeah. So he was just like, no, obviously at the time, Kieran, you know what I mean? He's got a big name in that emerging talent at United. He's like, nah, that's not me. And he goes to play somewhere else where
Ends up playing left back anyway.
yeah, eventually he goes to play left back anyway, but his first desire wasn't to play there. So it can go both ways. Do you get where I'm coming from? But I understand you have to back yourself. If you
100%.
don't, then
I also remember my pastor used to say to me, he said, John, no matter where they put you, do it to the best of your ability. I was like, but you don't understand. I'm not a left. He said, John, do it to the best of your ability. Because remember, the people who are your coaches, they're professionals and they might see something.
That was his way of saying, listen, John, humble yourself.
Yeah, literally.
That was his way of that was his way of telling you, humble yourself.
Gareth Bale, he probably couldn't see himself as a winger. One game changed his whole life. So if you're any young players watching this, you might be waiting till you put right wing or you're in your position, but graft now. Graft now, because you don't know where that could take you. But yeah, when I did sign for Lons, I showed the manager where I wanted to play, and I played deep. That season, I won player of the whole league. Wow. Yeah, so it was a decision I look back on. I'm glad I went to France.
Did you enjoy it because the press wasn't as rife as it was in the UK?
It started to come back though.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I went on like the biggest TV show there, a football show in France, because they basically said they saw my journey. I mean, I was on it with Perez and some of the biggest French pundits. And they said, like, we don't understand your journey. Like, you're killing it here in France. Why did you have to go on this? We don't understand it. So even sometimes I look at my journey, it looks quite confusing. I'm like, wow, what a process. But in France, I flourished, you know. And the plaudits started to come back. I was linked with some big clubs in France. So I was enjoying my football.
So I want to skip it. So you do your thing. You're in Bursaspor, Toulouse, and I'm butchering Bursaspor.
Yeah, Bursaspor.
Bursaspor. Yeah. We both played for them. Different time. But we both
really?
played.
South London to Turkey, man.
Yeah.
Wow. So, yeah, because you loved it there, isn't it?
Yeah, at Bursaspor I did. The Texas area was unbelievable. We used to go there before the game to do the free fist pumps. I used to love it.
Crazy, man.
Unbelievable. I don't know why they don't do that here.
Nah.
Like before games, I swear, what they do, they sing, but in the warm-up, they call each player
one
by one to go and acknowledge the crowd. So you could be in the middle of stretching, you hear your name, you got to run. You got to go and jog towards that where they're singing your name.
That's mad.
And you either go there and clap them, or you go there and you do like fist pumps. Free fist pumps. I used to do the free fist pumps because I used to love it. Like, I can't even lie, I used to love it. I don't know why they don't do that here.
We have ultras in England too tough.
No.
Other countries do have ultras. Maybe there's a few clubs here a little bit, but over there it's
not the same.
Yeah.
So you do end up back in France though afterwards, right? In Toulouse. Did you enjoy it there?
Yeah, so the manager who signed me at Lons, obviously I went to Turkey for a short period, and he got the job in Toulouse. And when I left England, even though my confidence was low, I made a goal. I said in 5 years I'm going to be in one of the top 5 divisions in England, in world football. And so the call came, Toulouse, Liga, that counted to me.
Yeah.
So I went.
And then you went there, a little bit short-lived.
Yeah.
But you find yourself back on loan, Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
Back in the UK.
I wanted to stay in France as long as I could. But this is what people don't really see. People just see the footballing CV. They don't see the people side, the human side. As a family, we had to come back to England. My son had some issues, and I actually cancelled my contract in France to come back to England. I spoke to the club spoke to Toulouse. Damien Comolli, the guy who signed me for Spurs, was now the sport director of Toulouse. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
And I spoke to him. I said, "Listen, I want to stay in Toulouse. I love it here, but I need to go back. My family need to go back." He said, "John, what are you going to do?" I said, "I need to cancel the contract." He said, "Have you got a deal in England?" I said, "I have nothing." I said, "But right now, because what we're going through as a family, I need to cancel my contract." He said, "John, nobody does it during COVID. You can't. Are you just going to cancel the contract in COVID?" I said, "I don't want to look back in 5 years and think, I wish I put my son first. I need to go back." So he honoured that decision, cancelled the contract, and I thought, I'm going to get a champ club easy. A couple of months, maybe a month. 4 months went by, bro.
Is that when we were speaking?
Yeah, no club, bro. I'm training by myself. I'm in the park. I did a YouTube channel called More Than a Player. I'm in the park training by myself, talking about the realities of players of our clubs. This is after Forest, by the way. I went on loan from Toulouse to Forest. And my agent at the time put a clause in the contract. I had to start 30 games to get a permanent deal there.
Who does that?
30 games?
Who does that?
30. And the captain was in my position, bro.
Who does that?
I don't know. So by the time September came, it was impossible for me to get a permanent. So I loved it there, but they didn't offer me anything. So I went back to Toulouse. That's when I cut the contract. And that's when 4 months of out of club, Darren Moore came in and I signed for Doncaster. So the journey might look quite, bizarre, but I've come to realise that my family have sacrificed for me all this time. I had to sacrifice for them.
Do you know what the amazing thing is that I'm sitting here with you today and I'm not thinking it's the end, because we've been in contact for a while. I mean, you and Jake, we've been talking, we've wanted to get you on. But despite you not staying on with Doncaster at the current moment, I've seen you training. I've seen clips of you training. You're very active with players. You've got a good reputation. I was talking to Max, people saying that they've seen you sometimes, like you're speaking positivity into people's lives, like you're one of those people, and I think you talk about rebuilding who you are and you're trying to rebuild yourself and as a person, but it's not even fake, bro. You are one of the nicest people, and I'm sure the viewers will agree, like you give great wisdom and you got a good reputation. So I know that you're going to find somewhere and we're going to get you back in the future, whether it be in a year or whatever it is, and we want to hear the rest of your story. But I don't know if there's anything that you want to leave us with today in regards to players who could be struggling, who don't know where their next club's going to be, who are going through family issues and football's involved.
Yeah.
Anton said, you gave me a stat, Anton. What was it about people going bankrupt? It's not the same thing, but there's just so many facets that people don't see in football.
So when people retire, I think it's more than 60% of players are divorced and bankrupt within 5 years of retirement. And that's why I thought it was important to acknowledge Miss Bostock, because, as I said, when people retire, it's more than 60%
That's mad.
that go bankrupt and their marriage ends. And it's a stat that's not nice, but it's a reality. So your story is important, and your story ain't, and what I like about this story ain't just about you. Yeah, you're the vessel, but it ain't just about you. And you see the value in people that you got around you. And it's important for young players to understand, not just young players, but young people to understand you are the company that you keep. And later on in life, your company became the right company, which is why you sit here at peace. Because there'll be a lot of people here today that if they've been on the same journey as you, they'll be talking in here. They won't be talking the way you're talking. They'll be bitter.
Blaming this person.
Yeah. Exactly.
That.
But yours ain't like that, because you're comfortable in yourself and you're comfortable in the environment that you're in and the people that you keep. That's my personal opinion of why you sit here humbled and not talking in a bitter way.
Do you have anything that you want to say or advise?
I think you mentioned Paul isn't God earlier. That's we're a community in football where we encourage mentor players, and I realised that my journey, if it had been smooth, there's no way I'll be able to relate with the people that I'm able to now mentor. We've got players without clubs, I've been there. We've got players who are wonder kids, I've been there. We've got players without clubs, or injured, or thinking about quitting. I've been all of these roles, and I've realised that, like you said, Anton, my journey, it's not been about me. Although, like you said, I was a vessel, I had to go through this process to be able to identify people who go through these processes. And I find so much fulfillment now in encouraging players, helping them to understand also this, that their identity can't just be in football. I love football. Like I said, it's the world game, but it's always changing. And if you build your house on something that's always changing, it's gonna fall. And I experienced that as a young player. I've tried to build my house on sand. 1 minute you're the best player, next minute you're saying he's a has-been. 1 minute you're league champions, next minute you're without a club. If you try and build your identity on something that's not solid, man, you got no foundation to it. Your house won't stand. And so I've also realized this: if you live for people's acceptance, you'll die by their rejection.
Wow.
And so it's so key to know who you are and why you do what you do. Me and Anton were talking earlier about our careers and whatnot. And we spoke about maybe, could we have gone on to achieve this and that? why did we start this game? We started as a 5, 6, 7-year-old just to play, to love it. And our dream was to be a footballer. Would I have loved to have played for Barcelona and the clubs Anton played for? Absolutely. But I still achieved my dream, and I'm still achieving my dream. And so any young player watching this, remember why you started. Remember why you started, why the passion of football is in you, just to play. And also remember this, that you're far more than a player. You're far more than a player. Football doesn't define you. Although it's an amazing game, it doesn't define you. You're far more than that.